And we are live, the SMT podcast. We have a couple of big-time guests today. To my right, I have Dennis, and below we have Stetson, two of like the biggest YouTubers I've ever watched before. They've got the podcast that they run together on Stetson's channel. I've got all of the links to everything that they're doing down in the description box. So you could check out the YouTube channel. You could check out their Twitters. I think I also have Stetson's website if you guys would like to check that out. Best, is it smartphone plans?
It's bestphoneplans.net. It's
right,
like kind of confusing. So the .com was taken. I should have gotten, I do own bestcellphoneplans.net, which might have been easier, but I wanted it to be short. So it's linked in the description, and I really appreciate that, Sneed. It's nice to have those there.
Sure, we got them all linked up, and you guys know that I watch all of your shows. I've been absolutely impressed by the slew of visitors that you've had on the show. So I've recently seen the Peter Adderton special, the Roger Entner feature. I think just most recently, might have even been yesterday, the day before, you had Mike Dano.
Yeah, that's correct.
So, I mean, these are the who's who of the wireless world, bro. Like, you're pulling all the strings, man. Like, what are you, a power broker, dude? What are you doing, man?
Yeah, we're super lucky to reach out and be able to connect with all these amazing people in the wireless and telecom space, people to ask them questions, hear their thoughts and opinions on things, and I think just start more conversations and dialogue on important issues in the telecom space.
Nice. You're doing a great job. You and Dennis run a very nice ship. I've always enjoyed just the sheer amount of information that gets relayed across that channel. The podcast has been a huge boost to your channel, I think. You've got incredible engagement. The channel members, the viewers, the subscribers are commenting. They're involved in the discourse. And then, of course, you're still producing your content, all of your smartphone plan analysis, all your special featurettes and stuff like that. So doing a fine job, and we really do appreciate your hard work on that channel.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I mean, it's always fun to work on it. We love the support from the fans. That's what keeps me motivated. I started out as a kid that needed an affordable cell phone plan, didn't know where to look. And it just makes me smile when I see someone is saving money on their cell phone bill, or someone like Dennis is able to grab the Magenta Max or AT&T Elite plan and get the perks that they're looking for.
Yeah, and Dennis, you've been a huge part of the show too. Your contributions on the podcast, your insight, everything has been really nice, but in that dynamic between the two on the show. So you've obviously become a huge part of the community as well. The cellular space, I guess, is what we're called. Thanks, Cesar. I appreciate that super chat, man. The super sticker. Thank you for that. So Dennis, kind of the idea was I had to get Dennis on. I was like, I can get Dennis on. He'd love to be on, so that's no problem. Let's get Stetson too. Let's just do the trifecta here. All right, so we're going to talk about Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. We'll talk a little bit about their postpaid operations. We'll talk about their cellular network experiences, the plan of how they want to execute their capacity builds. You guys cover those very closely. We're going to talk fixed wireless. And then there's a little bit of some local news for Dennis that I want to get his insight on. He lives in a market where the issue is taking place, and it's slightly political. These things happen in cellular. Not that we get political and start to push and pull one another, but the red tape, the politics of cellular infrastructure becomes important at times. So that should be interesting when we get to that point. Big John, thanks for that super chat, man. Dennis, Stetson are matching. Missed opportunity for the SMT.
We'll have to get you a shirt, man. We'll have to get you a shirt.
Yeah, but this is legit what's happening to me. I had to wear it. It's going bananas, bro. It's the king, the
I love that.
Going bananas. My daughter picked it up. Come on, John. Come on, man. All right. There's also some Pixel 5 news that came out today. Pixel 5a.
Yeah, I was excited by that.
So we could definitely discuss that. And, I'm a Google guy. I personally think the Google phone is the best operating system smartphone experience. I like it more than I do my iPhones, honestly. The Galaxy phones have always been an absolute powerhouse with incredible features that I never use. I don't even go in and dig. So I'm just like, I just need to see the service mode for bandwidth. So
It's all about
Yeah.
ecosystem, though, man. It's all about ecosystem.
Well, I
If you're-
like the concept of the decks, Dennis. I think that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I have a Samsung TV, so having a Samsung smartphone makes sense because of screen share. It's so legit to be able to like literally just literally screen record my phone onto the TV. It's a beautiful feature. Use it all the time for watching like Kiss Anime and other different anime websites. But getting off topic, on my apologies. Where do you want to kick it off with, Sneed?
Let's do the Verizon and Tracfone story. All right, so this Verizon and Tracfone thing, Verizon has absolutely no prepaid footprint. They don't have a presence in the marketplace. They don't have a brand that resonates with anyone. They've never targeted it. They've always been a premium carrier. Even till now, they're still a very premium carrier. They're the most expensive. They're the upsell carrier, you know, that sort of thing. They do offer big value in the form of things like, you know, the Hulu bundle with Disney Plus and all of that, but you have to pay, right? So they will give you a lot, but you're going to be paying top dollar. So them getting Tracfone always kind of surprised me, you know, because they had their own prepaid brand they never really pushed. They did the visible thing. They pushed a little bit, but it never really, I didn't see it enough consistently, right? It was like a month here and a month there. Hector, thanks for that super chat. Appreciate it very much. All he said was, yeah. So that makes it easy. So anyways, the Tracfone story is there's comments going to the FCC as they review and regulate this transaction. And Verizon is actually punching back, right? So that those that are concerned about the Verizon Tracfone deal have been saying, hold on, wait a minute. This should not be just a cakewalk. Verizon should not just be able to do this willy-nilly. Let's investigate. Let's pick this apart, right? Let's put together concessions that we feel customers can benefit from because, you know, there's risk of anti-competition in this. So Verizon's punching back. Now that we're in this regulation and review stage, this is a massive transaction in terms of market share. Tracfone is a big piece of prepaid. Mostly the comments going to the FCC are negative. They don't really want to see it happen without any type of concessions and regulations. So you're talking about over 20 million customers, although a large chunk of them are on the Verizon network. You're probably talking about 8 or so million customers that I think are non-Verizon. So it's 21 million customers total, 13 are Verizon, and I think the 8 is broken down like 4.5 AT&T, 3.5 T-Mobile, right? So those 8 million would then be moved over to Verizon's Tracfone access. So there is some concern there. Anyways, what is Verizon saying about this? What is their punchback? They're saying that, number one, they can improve Lifeline supported services. So one of the things is that government subsidy that's designed to help people of low income that qualify for Lifeline services. And then the second piece is they think they can better serve the prepaid sector by offering things like better service and better device options, you know, give them better phone deals or whatever the case may be. The Lifeline piece seems to be the sticking point. And by that, I mean, it seems to come up by the CWA, the Communication Workers of America, that union. That comes up from them as well as other consumer advocate groups. So, if Verizon is able to somehow agree to some concessions that pertain to the Lifeline, I actually like their chances of getting this deal approved. But it just kind of depends how it's constructed. I'll start with Dennis. You're closest to me on the screen. Dennis, any concerns about the Verizon Tracfone deal? Do you think it's warranted the way that people are maybe viewing it a little bit negatively?
To be honest, I'm not super worried. I think that the prepaid and MVNO space has a good amount of healthy competition. I think last count was like there's like over 200 MVNOs in the U.S. or something crazy like that. So I'm not too concerned to see Straight Talk going away. I didn't know that Straight Talk handled the Lifeline issue. I do think that there should be lots of regulation around that because I do know a lot of Americans rely on that to stay connected. And I will also just say as a hot take, but I don't even know if this is a good investment for Verizon overall. We had Roger Etner on, and he was commenting about how the prepaid market's actually been shrinking instead of increasing in growth. And he was talking about how like the amount of revenue that Verizon is going to take home for this, it might help out like 1 or 2% in their overall net like revenue. So I don't even know if this is necessarily the best purchase for Verizon to be making, to be perfectly honest. And that's just based off new information I learned from like Roger and other articles I've been reading. Stetson, what are your thoughts though, man?
I agree with you, Dennis. I think I'm coming into this with a little bit less concern. And the reason is I think Verizon kind of needs to have a stronger play in the prepaid space. Their Verizon branded prepaid service didn't really take off. It was quite expensive because it was under that flagship Verizon brand. I think by acquiring Tracfone, Verizon has the opportunity to potentially consolidate some of these smaller MVNOs, turn it into a better experience for customers, specifically pertaining to customer service and support. My understanding is that was a very weak point for the Tracfone brand in general. So if Verizon can, bring better customer service and support, I think they could build this up to be a slightly more competitive MVNO on their network. I mean, right now you have Visible, which can be good for some customers, but sometimes performance can be a miss. You have US Mobile, and we just know they literally haven't been invested in marketing, so very few people know about them. And I see this as an opportunity for Verizon. My biggest concern personally is the customers not on the Verizon network. How will that be handled? Will they be getting new devices? Will their devices be compatible and things like that? I would want to make sure those customers are taken care of and that they can continue having service and no interruptions with their experience. But otherwise, I'm personally okay with it. I think we have 3 big providers in the MVNO space: T-Mobile prepaid, Metro. Their big push is actually Metro by T-Mobile. We have Cricket. Verizon doesn't really have anyone. So I think either Visible or the MVNO that emerges out of this will stand to be a stronger competitor, I think, in that space.
So that was my next piece that I was going to take a look at, the analysis of competition and what the marketplace looks like now and what it would probably look with the approval of this. So if Verizon becomes better positioned to compete in prepaid, which is something they've never done, that's a new utilities-based service provider into the game. So it's previously really 2. It's AT&T and T-Mobile because we lost Sprint. Well, that's like bringing a new one to replace Sprint if you think about it, right? It's really not Dish. Dish has Boost, so I don't want to overlook them. But for the time being, right? Like they don't operate their own network for now. So Cricket, which is AT&T's flanker brand, and then you have Metro by T-Mobile, T-Mobile's flanker brand. They have a combined, well, I think with Boost Mobile, they have a combined 75% market share. That leaves 25% left. So if you bring another service provider in on that 25%, not only do you have competition in postpaid, you feel better about the competition in prepaid, right? Not having a wireless service operator out of the loop, now they're in the loop. I also think that's probably going to have to ramp up Dish's efforts with Boost if Verizon becomes a part of it. So Metro has 20 million customers estimated. Cricket's at 11 million. Boost is at about 8 million, I think, 8.5 million. So Tracfone's at 20 million. This is a big contract or a big acquisition for Verizon if it does happen. T-Mobile currently is the only lifeline provider. That would bring in Verizon as a second. That's got to be something, right? If they both continue to offer lifeline services, that helps a little bit. I think also, not just on the lifeline piece, but also like you think about Tracfone, they've been losing customers. There was a point, I think, when Tracfone had 27 million subs. And they're down to about 20 or 21 million. So that means over the last several years they've been losing, which confirms what Dennis brought up from the Roger Etner interview. He did say that postpaid was gaining and prepaid was losing. I don't know about the Metro numbers. Metro has been an absolute growth force over the last decade. I've literally watched their advertising happening at UFC events, everything Metro, Ronda Rousey, the whole shebang. So they've been killing in prepaid. Cricket is a success story only that AT&T acquired them. I forget the name of the business. Before it was Cricket. It was like Sunshine Wireless or something like that. I forget what it was. Anyways, they purchased it. They built it. They built it up. Cricket's a competitor. Boost is legendary in prepaid. You know, they've been in the game a long time. And when they were owned and operated by Peter Adderton, and then through the Sprint years, they were an ultra competitive prepaid carrier up until recently with Dish, because they don't own and operate their own network. So I think this is good from that standpoint. Verizon claims that Tracfone has been losing subscribers, so maybe that'll help them along. Like, hey, we'll stop the bleeding. We'll offer and protect the Lifeline services. We'll bring a new competitor to the market. The CWA wants a Verizon commitment for 5 years of Lifeline support. Dennis, do you think that's enough?
It's hard to say. I mean, what I'll say is this: when it comes to Lifeline support or things that are similar to this, most of the time, once a company adopts that and puts that infrastructure in place, they're likely not to remove it. I mean, like, for example, whenever Comcast was merging with NBC Universal, they were forced to have Internet Essentials for customers for, like, I think it was 5 years as well. But here we are 10 years later and they still have it. So I think 5 years is enough to make Verizon so that they end up keeping it, because I don't see them ever just dropping that kind of thing. Revenue's still revenue, and they're going to spend money anyway adding the bill codes, right? So I think 5 years is fine.
Anything on that, Stetson? Do you more or less?
I mean, I'm okay with it. I think it's important that they continue to operate it. And I mean, T-Mobile's agreement for their pricing was 3 years. And I know operating a whole different service is different than that. But I think if you're getting a 3 to 5 year commitment out of this, I think that's reasonable.
I think it'd be more important. What's more important is not the length of time, but what are the repercussions if they break it?
Oh, that's a great point. You want to incentivize them to maintain this. Like, this is a valuable service we want them to have.
Sure.
Yeah, because as you've known, Steve, when we talked yesterday, Verizon's already taken money and broken promises, right? They were supposed to lay fiber all throughout Pennsylvania, and that didn't happen. And they got extensions on it.
Well, they always do. AT&T, same thing. They did the same thing in Mississippi. You know, rural America, right? All right.
So, yeah, the repercussions, man, I want to see some teeth in the bill that really, like, if you don't commit to this, like, we're taking, I don't know, $150 billion from you, like something heavy.
Sneed, do you think it's long enough? Like, what's your take here?
You know, I kind of think about it like how Dennis mentions. Is it really, is it the mandate of time, or is it more about them wanting to support it? You know, some companies will painstakingly support something because they have to, and the moment that's done, they're gone, right? And then some will bail and just take the fine and say it's operational cost. You know, like literally AT&T's like, it's the cost of doing business. We'll take the fine.
Writing it off, business expense, that's what it is.
I'm convinced that T-Mobile's going to miss the California Public Utilities Commission goal of 300 megabits statewide by 2023. I am convinced they will not get it. There's no way, no how. As fast as they are improving the network, it's impossible. That terrain is too rough. It is too complicated. And based on their CapEx, as well as the issues I'm seeing in key markets where they're rated like 32 out of 100 in root metrics, there's no way. So basically, they're going to miss those goals, and they're going to take those fines, and they're going to make them into tax write-offs, you know, because they're losses. There's no way they're going to get it. I think some of these companies, they've gotten so big. There's only 3 of them, right? And a 4th is in the works. They're so big and so powerful, and, you know, T-Mobile's the new powerful company. They're just going to take these L's, and they're just going to keep it moving. They're going to settle. They're going to move on. And I think that can happen. And Verizon's no different. They're not exempt. They're a better company than they used to be. But we can't put anything past them. Look at the pedigree. Verizon used to tell people to go to you-know-where anytime that they had a billing dispute. You don't like it, leave. You know, AT&T literally bought up every wireless telecom, every wireline telecom that ever competed with them. Imagine a company that wanted nothing to do with competition, so they just swallowed every single company since 1880. Like, you guys want to talk about a huge old company. They needed 2 loans to get a $100 billion loan. T-Mobile needed 13 to get a $26 billion loan. To show you the difference in credit, that's how big AT&T is. AT&T has been paying dividends for like 8 decades. So they literally will just same thing.
Well, they
It's
were
what they did
Bell.
Well, that's my point. Is they're so big, they're just like, nah, we don't even care. Like they laugh at the debt they have. It's incredible. I just maybe T-Mobile, Verizon becomes that company that does the same thing. They do the 5-year thing, walk away. Maybe they stop it after a year. We're not interested. We'll pay the fine and we'll get out.
I guess. At the end of the day, it's always going to come down to money. Part of me feels like they wouldn't remove it though, because it would be terrible PR. Like, I feel like Verizon's been spending a lot of time and effort in trying to improve their brand, and I feel like that's been a common trend amongst all of the telecommunications industry because it's had such a bad reputation for so long in people's mouths. I mean, I remember around Christmas time, I remember seeing all these beautiful Christmas commercials. Like, remember, I live in Pittsburgh, so I saw Comcast commercials of Comcast going out to food banks and doing all this different type of stuff to, make you feel good, right? Make you feel like they're part of the community. And Feye had things connecting hospitals and stuff, and it showed like donations and stuff for kids with cancer and stuff like that to make you feel good, like they're doing good stuff. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is going to go under that checkbox of like, here's a good thing to show, like, hey, we're not just some big mindless corporation. We care. And that's where I think it's going to fall under.
Well, Verizon's done a good job of that the last 3 years. I haven't seen a single misstep since the firefighter problem in California 3 years ago.
Oh yeah,
so
I remember that.
I did not forget. For everybody out there that says I work for Verizon, I rode them hard for that, really hard when they were throttling those firefighters. Yeah. So don't give me that Sneed works for Verizon stuff.
Yeah,
I rode them hard.
He's wearing a color neutral shirt right now. There's no brown green carrier. He's a neutral third party.
Stetson, is there an MVNO that has this color, the sienna brown or something?
No, I don't think so. It's there's a lot of blue, like a lot of blue. Mm-hmm. You got some magentas in there. Mm-hmm. So you're good. You're safe for now.
All right.
Till we make our own thing or not.
Exactly. Yeah. I think we got that one covered pretty good. We can move on to the next thing. It is Verizon related. This one is pretty important when it comes to networking. So Verizon, in my estimation, nationally, is probably going to be the fastest carrier once the C-band build is completed or mostly completed on a substantial basis. There's just a ton of spectrum, and they have a ton of macro sites, and they have a lot of small cells. It's just simple mathematics. When you have infrastructure, your capacity potential is very high. When you don't have infrastructure, you have to overcome a lot. One of the main things that T-Mobile is learning is that you can have all this incredible spectrum, but if your fiber backhaul is weak, the spectrum is kind of meaningless. Maybe it gives you a little bit of headroom with congestion, maybe, but you still need fiber. So the networking piece is important. In terms of the Verizon networking news, the trend is that they've been building new macro sites at a very steady pace. They are saying that this does not pertain to their small cells, which is incredible. At least here in the CLE, they have small cells probably in between each set of macros, and the macros are a mile and a half apart.
That's tasty.
So, like, it's incredible. Sometimes I'm just like, when does the signal ever drop? It doesn't. Speeds do, but the signal's always high, and I think it's just because of that tower density. So they've been adding somewhere of about 2,000 macro sites per year, and those are new sites, so not upgrades. They're just saying we've been doing 2,000 per year, now estimated to have 68,000 total macro sites nationally. It should continue with this pace moving forward. However, and this is really good news, they're not focusing on urban for macro cells. These 2,000 cell sites are probably going to be rural because their urban markets have matured. There's no need for tower density anymore. Dennis, what does Verizon need in urban markets? They don't need sites. They need spectrum. So they got the spectrum. So they're going to probably just upgrade those existing sites in urban areas, get their bandwidth, they're going to do their spectrum thing with C-band, start broadcasting 60, 100 megahertz channels there's your capacity. You don't need new sites. So 2,000 sites annual specifically is going to help rural America. So I was concerned with C-band until I saw where they got it, which is everywhere, right? They got like 4,000 markets. Seriously, I think it's like 4,083. So those 2,000 annual cell site builds are probably 90% of them going to be rural. I'm really happy about that because for a while I was bullish on rural expansion for Verizon. I'm also bullish on T-Mobile's rural expansion. I know what they said at the announcement on carrier, but I don't believe it because of the CapEx going down. Verizon's CapEx is not going down. It's staying the same at $18.5 billion, and then C-band is getting $10 billion dedicated. So I'm more confident that they're going to be helping rural than, say, T-Mobile is. AT&T continues to build out rural. So I still think it's AT&T's game, the rural expansion, but I think now I have a little bit more faith that Verizon will too.
100%. It was definitely weird hearing T-Mobile go on stage and pitch that their CapEx is going down, but their network is going up. And, you know, you think about it like, wait a minute, like we want you to build a good network. You need money. It's okay to do that. But really, I think what's happening right now, T-Mobile, I think they actually do have a lead with band N41. That's the best 5G experience I think you can get right now available to the most people. And I think T-Mobile has this opportunity. They're funding their marketing department. They're pitching everything in the best way possible, finding the way to spin it into an advertising opportunity. And I think Verizon's just quiet because they need to build this out. They need to build out their network, but they have the spectrum. They have the cell site density. I'm really excited for Verizon in 2022 when they can take a stand and really show people what 100 megahertz of C-band can do.
So I will just say, to hop off what you were saying, Stetson, I think T-Mobile needs to cut down on the marketing budget just a bit. They should be taking that money and putting it towards the CapEx expenditure in their actual market, because they're pitching, they're talking up something they can't meet on, right? They can't pay the bill. They can't actually meet the performance that they're marketing. Like Verizon, like you said, Steve, they're putting $10 billion just to C-band alone over the next 3 years, just to C-band.
Well, they said that it could take up to 3 years to spend that money. They said they might do it in 2 years or less. So
that's more than what T-Mobile's
$10
spending on their whole network in general, isn't it?
T-Mobile's annual capex is guided at $12 billion currently.
Oh, it's $12 billion now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
but that's an entire network.
That's an entire network. That's just what Verizon's putting on C-band. So,
do you know what Dish's capex is?
It's $10 billion for the whole darn thing.
$10 billion in 7 years.
Wait, excuse me, what? I'm sorry. Did I hear?
Yeah.
You said 10. Yeah. I heard 10 billion in 6 years for the whole network.
For the whole network.
Okay. Well, all right.
They say that, there's a bunch of new ways to skin the cat. You got Open RAN, you got all these new techniques. They're going to go the Rakuten way, the Japanese company, telecom. They're going to do things different. I don't
look. I'll believe it when I see it.
$10 billion in C-band.
And that's how I feel about 5G as a whole, man. I don't know, man. I have faith in Verizon. They're competent like AT&T is. But on the same token, I'm going to have the wait and see approach, because to me personally, I've been a little bit underwhelmed by 5G, just a little bit.
And well, they sold you high, right? They told you it's going to be this, and you're seeing this.
Yeah, I think what happened is they hyped it all up right before this, disease hit, expecting people to be in stadiums, seeing the commercials, doing a speed test, being like, oh my gosh, I can actually use my phone now. And then we were all at home, and the 5G at everyone's home is this DSS 5G. It's not real 5G. Speeds actually got slower in a lot of cases. And I think, the marketing spend was there before the network was there. And I think T-Mobile's taking this opportunity. They're marketing really hard right now because they want to get as many customers as possible. And even if the experience is sort of medium now, I do think it will continue to improve in many markets. And if they can kind of capture that lead and capture those customers, I think they'll likely stick with T-Mobile for 2 years. And that might be enough to convert at least some of those customers to longer term T-Mobile customers in the long run.
Yeah. I'm just going to say this. The 5G experience that we've been having in the U.S. is what LTE was like in South Korea. Like, that, aside from millimeter wave is the exception in this. But if we're talking about N41 experience, 300 to 600 meg, that's South Korea, man. That's all over. Like, that's common on LTE Advanced.
Verizon Band 48. The CBRS is 700 megabits per second.
Yeah,
that's true. That's incredible.
Yeah. But I guess my point is that I'm waiting for the standalone 5G to become the norm, and I'm waiting for carrier aggregation to be supported on the next series of Snapdragon modems, because that's when I start seeing, that's when I think we'll start seeing 5G actually matter. Because the biggest improvement that 5G has isn't really necessarily throughput, it's latency. Mm-hmm. It's jitter, right? These are the areas where big improvements happen. And if you're a mobile gamer that likes to play PUBG Mobile, boy, oh boy, are you excited for some low latency.
Sure.
If you're doing anything like real time, like this video call we're having, you're excited about consistent low ping times. Because we've seen people in the comments all the time say, like, my LTE was just fine. I can watch YouTube in 1080p, right? Like 1080p video is only 5 megabits per second, right? Or excuse me, 8 megabits per second. Like, you don't need crazy fast.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I think I'm excited for, and more efficient utilizations of the limited spectrum, right? Like, I know it's fun to run speed tests to see crazy high numbers, but to me, as someone that understands networking, that's a bad thing, right? Like, it would be much more efficient if, like, all the different little smart, like, for example, my Amazon Alexa, right? That Amazon Alexa doesn't need my full 400 megabit connection at home. It only needs maybe like a 1 meg dedicated to it, right? So I go into QoS and I say, hey, Alexa, you only get 1 megabit per second, leaving the rest of my bandwidth to be utilized by my PC here, like when we're talking, or other important things on the network. I would love to see the networks get much smarter about allocating that bandwidth.
So, Dennis, what you're talking about is next gen, next level networking with like network slicing, right? So we're talking about dedicating specific amounts of bandwidth, but it's the computing side, right? It's allocating power to latency, right? The connectivity portion of getting to servers and relaying data has so many different ends to it, and that's standalone, man. That's that's what you're talking about. I mean, that's the next step. I mean, we're enjoying the non-standalone variation because of the additional capacity, but in the non-standalone variation, the latency is unchanged. A 17, 18 millisecond latency is about as good as it gets in LTE.
Yep.
We're occasionally seeing, and I think because of the nature of millimeter wave, we're seeing some speed tests on millimeter wave showing like 7 and 8 millisecond ping, which is progress. It shows the improvement and the potential. But true 5G standalone, the end game is probably to get it around 2 or 3 milliseconds. Mm-hmm. Probably, right? And I mean, like, entire markets being that way. Non-negotiable. Even on the edge, your latency should be sub 10, even for mobility. So we got to get to that point. I think we're probably about 2 generations of smartphones away and probably 3 generations of home fixed wireless generations away from that.
Yeah. But
thanks,
yeah,
David.
that's my
Appreciate the
thoughts on
super
it.
chat. Thank you.
I think we covered that, though, pretty well, though.
What about the fixed wireless piece? Let's maybe talk about this a little bit. And then, Dennis, I'm going to get you your personal local story so I can get your take on it. The next piece is the Verizon Home 5G fixed wireless option. This is a home solution. It's expanded to additional markets. They're now in 30 markets or 30 cities. They're not available in the entire city. The 5G home internet for Verizon is millimeter wave based, which is an incredible capacity layer that they have, but it's very limited in its reach, right? It's difficult to get that to propagate, like, say, for example, a mid-band or a low-band signal. So they're promising 300 megabits as a low average. I'm getting a full gig speed at the bakery on the product, so it's been really good for me. There's no data cap. There's no throttling. They're now in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Tampa Bay, Florida. And that is as of April 8th. So if you're in those areas and you've been seeing the nodes going up, inquire, because the pricing is good. $80 a month, $10 discount for autopay brings it to $70. $20 discount if you're a Verizon Wireless customer. Brings it to $50 for up to gigabit speed. Latencies in and around 10 milliseconds. Hey, I'm not saying it's replacing fiber. I'm saying the downlink speed is competitive to fiber. The uplink is not.
What's the uplink on it?
The uplink is still NSA, so it's like 20 to 80. Depends how good your signal is, right? So it's acceptable. It's not fiber, but it's fine. It's good enough, I guess. The setup is easy, self-installation. You don't need a technician. You could pick up your device from the store. You could have it shipped to you. There's no taxes, no fees. It's $50 if you got all the discounts on there. $50 out the door. What do you guys think of that?
I think it's good. I think that I agree. It's not going to, if you have fiber, right, this is not meant for you, right? Because fiber is the gold standard. But if you have cable like I do, right, this is a good alternative to cable. 1,000 down and like you said, 20 meg up. That's
20 is
basically
like the low end. Yeah, it's typically like 40, 50, 70, 80.
Well, if we're talking 40, that's what Comcast gigabit is. 1,000 down, 40 up. That's identical to cable. Latency, you said, is around 10 milliseconds. Mm-hmm. Pretty on par. You can game with that. That's plenty low enough to game on.
That's actually one of their sticking points, Dennis. They mentioned gaming.
Yeah. And $50, like that's the cheapest gigabit internet you're ever going to be able to buy. To get gigabit internet with Comcast, even if you'd have to buy your own modem to make this happen, but you'd be talking like $80, right? And even good old Stetson here, I think pays what, 60 for his symmetrical fiber?
69, so 70 a month.
70 a month. So, yeah, man, $50 for what they're offering. I'm down. My only concern would be what happens to performance if there's a lot of, like, let's just say they set aside offer at this apartment complex. I'd be curious to know how it would handle, say, 15 people, 20 people connecting to that millimeter wave node, because these apartment complexes are pretty dense. So that would be my only interesting concern, I suppose, is how would that handle compared to what cable operators are able to do? Because, like, when someone comes into our apartment complex, they actually install. There's a green pedestal like right outside. It's the amp, right? And if you were to like unhook it and stuff, you could see the tap and you could see where all the people's coaxes are going in. And there's like one of those for every single like apartment dwelling, and you'll see nodes all over the place to make sure there's enough capacity. I wonder how Verizon's going to handle apartment complexes like mine with that service.
So they actually said that apartment complexes are targeted for this. They are targeting multi-level buildings and infrastructure. So they must feel really confident about it. So I want to give you some explanation as to what they're doing in the CLE. I'm getting 800 megahertz of N260 at the bakery. All right, so 800 megahertz out of 1,600 possible. So they're at half bandwidth right now, and I'm getting through 3.5 gigs per second on device.
Oh, you're getting 3.5
on my phone.
Whew.
So we don't have modems right now that are doing it when it comes to the home gateways. The home gateway is capped at 1.2 gigs theoretical. When I do speed tests, it's like 1.1. So it's right there. It's real close. So nobody's going to be using beyond that. I don't even see the home application. I still can't figure out where in the world you're going to do more than 1.2 gigs per second. The only thing would be if you were operating some kind of a video file application where you're like transferring like enormous files. Like they've got to be big, and there must be a lot of them. So like for example, my brother-in-law works in photography and videography. I could only imagine what some of those folders are loaded with, and just the size, right? Like, so several gigabit files. Yeah, he needs a gigabit connection, but even that would be good enough. Gigabit per second, right? Like, and there's no restriction. There's no video throttling. None of that exists in the millimeter wave world, right? So honestly, I've connected my iPhone to a node, broadcasted a hotspot, and speed tested 4 devices simultaneously to it, and they all were getting about 200 or 300 megabits per second.
I guess I should just rephrase what I meant by that. I'm not, like, a gig is crazy fast. I just wish that Verizon had a consistent minimum speed that they could guarantee.
They're saying 300.
Oh, that's the minimum guarantee.
Yeah, they're saying
Oh.
300 megs because it depends on the line of sight,
Okay.
right? Like how good or how quality is that signal? You'll get between 300 and about 1.2 gigs.
Okay. Well, if 300 is the minimum, then that's fantastic. I mean, literally not even like a month ago, that's what I dropped down to was 300 by 10. So, and 300 by 10 is like good. And you're telling me Verizon's giving you like a gig by 20 on the low?
I think
So-
yeah, about a gig by 20.
So that's good. And for $50, that's cheaper than anybody's offering. So that's fantastic.
And once it goes standalone, that it's going to be symmetrical, right? So that's where things get really interesting. And then the C-band comes into play, and then you're going to start aggregating, right? As soon as you get the modems that can do it, now the possibilities open up. Now you're talking about C-band and ultra-wideband millimeter wave combining. We could be seeing homes getting 10 gigabit speed once this is all said and done.
That is nuts to think about.
That is incredible.
I don't know if they can with wireless. I mean, I don't know. 10 gigs kind of reserved for fiber at the moment. You think they'd be able to pull that off, Sneed? With
They have to get huge fiber backhaul upgrades. Those like that's the limiting factor, right? Like if you're going to be doing that at nodes, I don't know. I don't know. Do they even want to do that?
I mean, I just want to know if they're going to run fiber to a little millimeter wave node like this. Why don't they just go all the way and run fiber into the whole apartment complex?
Because they want to offer it to mobility too. You see what I'm saying? So they're literally they want 50 to 75% of their urban mobility traffic on millimeter wave. So this is what I'm saying is they're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
They're serving two purposes here. If they were just putting fiber in the ground, then what are you doing for your mobility? That's why AT&T only got 100 megahertz or 80 megahertz of C-band. Verizon doubled that because they knew they were going to be doing home and they were going to be serving mobility.
Yeah. Stetson, what's your thoughts on it, though, man? As someone that actually has fiber, what are your thoughts on it?
I think this is actually really funny because I feel like we saw companies like Comcast with Xfinity, and they went out, partnered with Verizon to create an MVNO, Xfinity Mobile, so that customers with existing home internet service could go out and pair their cell phones and add it to their bill. Verizon is doing the exact opposite. They had existing wireless subscribers. They created their own home internet option and are hoping that their wireless subscribers will bundle their internet with Verizon. So I think it's really funny. I think what they're charging is competitive, but I also don't know if it'll get people to switch. Maybe if I'm a Verizon customer, I would consider switching. $50 a month is a great deal. Everything's all handled in one spot. But I think for $70 a month as its standalone price, I think there are better wired options, and I think the performance would be a little bit more consistent with a wired connection. So I don't know. I think it's reasonable. I think it's exciting. And I think it's funny that Verizon is approaching this the way they are. I just think it makes sense. But it's going to be like T-Mobile. It's going to be great for some people, and it's not going to be ideal for others. And I think they may have trouble with building penetration in terms of, where customers place that 5G gateway in their home. Maybe it has to be closer to a window or something like that.
It literally has a suction cup.
Oh,
that
really?
goes
So
onto
you can...
Yes. Yeah, I wish I had the box with me so I could show you guys. It literally has you move it through the window.
Oh, God.
Trying to find the strongest signal. It blinks green when it connects. And then that's your spot. And you literally mark it. And then you put the little suction cup there. And it's literally mounted to your window. And the problem is because they don't have the repeaters yet. Right? Like they just made the deal with FR Tech out of Korea. They've got Pivotal Comware. That's a Bill Gates company. They're going to change the game when it comes to millimeter wave technology because they're going to use repeaters and beamforming technologies to enhance the signal, to get it into houses, to get it turning corners. Like that's been a problem. If you're at the end of the street, what happens when you make a right? You disconnect from the node, right? There's no more line of sight. So once those things start to happen, I think a lot of these problems get mitigated. And they're saying that a lot of these repeaters are low power. They don't even need to be metered. Some of them are solar powered. I don't know. They say that there's a lot of promise in it.
This is going to be I was going to say this is a quick dumb question, but Does the equipment that Verizon provides you, does it actually require AC power, or does it have a backup battery inside in case of power
AC
outages?
power. AC power.
So if the power goes out, you're just screwed, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that's something that sucks. Because anytime Fios does an install, you can get a backup battery for their fiber service. So even if the power goes out, you still have internet and phone service, of course, if you have their VoIP.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have that. The T-Mobile home internet Nokia gateway has backup power, but you can't run it when it's on battery.
Oh, you can't?
No,
Then that's pointless.
Yeah, I think what's funny is I think T-Mobile, in my opinion, has a little bit greater of an opportunity because they're serving underserved markets that literally have no options, one option, or are torn between two terrible options. Verizon, I feel like, is trying to break into markets that typically already have two very decent options available, maybe more options available that are delivering the higher speeds because they're in those densely populated areas that it makes sense to build the fiber to. So I think it'll be more challenging for this service to take off, but it could be a good option for some people.
I actually disagree with this, Stetson. So apartment complexes typically sign contracts with a particular one provider to offer service, and they don't let you get anybody else set up. So for example, my complex is Comcast only. Comcast, that's it. No one else. And one of the big problems is that even though Fios exists in this market, even if I wanted them to come up here, and if I paid them, they would have to get approval from the landlord or the manager of this property, and they don't want them digging up the yards and all that good stuff. This is a good solution because it eliminates that problem. It doesn't require any wires to be ran, and if I want to get it, it's a very easy, simple matter. Now, again, the question is, do I pick it over Comcast service like you were talking about, Stetson, right? And Sneed, I know you hate every time I say this, but I haven't had any problems with my Comcast internet. Like it's been good. It's what they say it's going to be. 400 by 10. I actually get above my speed, and it's $60. This is $50. Mm-hmm. But do I want to go through the hassle of switching for a $10 savings?
No, not worth it.
Yeah. And plus, I'd have to give up my equipment. Like, I got a nice router I bought. I got my own modem. I have everything set up. Why would I want to switch to save $10? That's not
so. Yeah, it wouldn't be for you in that case, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so the reason I'm bringing that up is that's the part I agree on. Like, who are they convincing to switch? Because if you're satisfied, you don't go looking around for another option. Heck, they don't even market. I haven't seen a single ad or flyer about it anywhere. So I mean, I know about it because of what we do, but like no one's going around talking about, oh my God, look at this exciting new product. I've heard people talk about T-Mobile Home Internet though.
Sure.
But not this. So
I think that that's 100% relative to the scale. It's 100% related to the build. Where is it? How many markets have it? We're talking about 30 markets who I wouldn't even really call it markets. It's like segments of markets, right? So we're talking about blocks and neighborhoods, around cities. The thing about it, though, Dennis, and I think this much is true, Verizon definitely did their homework. They did their surveys. People told them, 100% confirmed, people told them they would be interested in Verizon as a home internet provider.
Oh, for sure.
Or else they would not have done this. You know what I'm saying? So they had the focus groups. They had the surveys go out. They asked people, would you consider Verizon as a home internet service provider? Most definitely 80% of respondents probably said yes. I would consider Verizon as a provider in fixed wireless access. So at this point in time, Verizon is addressing two needs with all this networking stuff, mobility and home. How fast they could scale is the relative question. Right now, Dennis, you've convinced me nobody's thinking about it, nobody's mind is on it because it's not available in places, right? So and then you got T-Mobile who's doing a much better job blasting it, putting it out there on carrier events, branding it, and people are begging for home internet service providers. They will take a fifth option just to have a fifth option.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just to have it. Because, I mean, dude, look, you can buy your clothes from anywhere. The more the merrier, right?
Yeah.
You can buy your food from Trader Joe's. Locally, we got Giant Eagle. We got all these different stores. Walmart, Costco. There's options. You can buy stuff from anywhere. the competition is healthy. So
Yeah.
I'm saying bring it on. So Verizon is a strong wireless provider here. I'm more than willing to try their home internet service. AT&T has been offering DSL at my house, and I have trash can Cox Communications as an option too. So if I got my option is slow as hell or garbage can residue. Those aren't options. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if
I
you
wanna-
combine them together,
I have garbage can residue with molasses. That's what I have.
I just want to say I primarily agree with what you're saying, but I also I primarily agree with you, Sneed. I will just say though, I think the only way this works though is in situations where it's like an apartment complex where there's like a monopoly, right?
That definitely
Because
works. Yeah.
to Stetson's point, if there's fiber, like if I at my new house, right, where there's going to be Fios and Comcast, right? Well, if I got Fios and Comcast, why would I? Okay, that's a bad example. Let's just say I had a mythical AT&T Uverse and Comcast. Okay, if I have AT&T Uverse and Comcast, why in the world would I even be thinking about Verizon's fiber product, right? Or not fiber product, their millimeter wave product. Excuse me. When I have those two options, especially since I know AT&T Uverse can also be $50 when you have AT&T cell phone service, right? If we're talking price point, and millimeter wave isn't going to make its way out into rural markets, which are the ones that need it most.
So it is, but not for the way that we think it'll be used. It's going to be used as IAB. It's going to be used as backhaul. So, so they're still going to be doing, because they don't want to build fiber, they don't want to install fiber, so they're going to broadcast a microwave signal to provide the backhaul.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, Sneed, I feel like you had a story for Dennis about his hometown in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania over there. Something's going on.
Yeah, Dennis, you ready, man? You're gonna we need you on this. This is your specialty. Your insight is needed.
All right, hit me.
AT&T is suing the city of Pittsburgh. Not sure if you caught on to this. This is pretty cool. Okay. So, and you wouldn't believe why. It's over small cells and fees. All right. So, permit delays and costs of operating the small cells. AT&T has filed for an order or injunction on this matter. The city of Pittsburgh is taking too long to allow permits for upgrades, and they're overcharging beyond the FCC guidelines in relation to the FCC's recent changes on infrastructure matters dating back to 2018 when they realigned all of the laws and rules and regulations for 5G upgrades and network infrastructure. So the time frame is they have what's called the upgrade shot clock, which is 90 days. The AT&T company puts in for an upgrade. The city has to respond and permit it within 90 days. They were supposed to have cleared a certain upgrade, I think, by March 8th. The city is not responding. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is they want to charge an annual fee of $850 per small cell, and it's capped at $270 according to FCC guidelines. So basically, the city of Pittsburgh is saying, we don't care about guidelines. We don't care about the rules that the FCC put in place. Screw you, AT&T. We want 210% of what we're supposed to, get, and we didn't even respond. Right? They're having troubles. All right, so this is an infrastructure problem related to upgrades. Pittsburgh actually, when I was doing some research, has a history of issues with AT&T. These types of problems are not new. I had no idea. Small cells obviously are crucial for capacity. Pittsburgh is one of those towns like the CLE that cellular service providers do a really good job of upgrades. I was in Pittsburgh last year, and AT&T was an incredible service provider. The network was probably the best in the city. The other carriers were good too, but I remember AT&T being very good. So I'm surprised at this. By 2026, they are expecting to have 800,000 small cells nationally. So if this is going to be a problem in cities now, I mean, this is going to be a problem for the next half a decade. So these issues don't seem to be happening in my town. I don't see any problems in any cities in the CLE, the surrounding suburbs. I just don't see them. I don't hear about these. So, Dennis, your insight, man. This is your hometown, dude. What do you think?
Well, first, I want to say I'm surprised, but I'm not. This is an issue. I mean, ultimately, this issue comes down to how government wants to oversight things. Right now, small municipalities have too much say in what goes on in the towns, right? Like these fees, like these heightened fees, this is nothing new. Towns do this all the time. They generate revenue to pay for all types of things, whether it be road pavement, paying for city workers, whatever, right? It's a way for them to generate money. And Pittsburgh doesn't really have any reason to play nice with AT&T because AT&T has traditionally in the past was a bad company to Pittsburgh. Like before Comcast actually started offering service in Pittsburgh, AT&T was the ones that operated here, and they were an atrocity to its citizens. Like they were really bad. This is old AT&T. I'm talking like when they were massive and much meaner.
Then they started to decide to compete, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me too much. I mean, the people that are in government are way older than me, and they probably remember it like it's yesterday. So, ultimately, and this problem isn't new to America, I think what needs to happen is the federal government needs to come in and basically set regulations that clearly define how this goes down because the FCC has no teeth. Nothing's going to come of this lawsuit. Ultimately, it's going to go to some state court probably, be settled behind closed doors where we're not going to hear about it in public, and things will move on, right? We talked about how companies will pay fees just to get it over with. I'm sure that's what's going to happen. They'll pay some type of settlement. The money will go into the pockets of the politicians, and they'll be like, "Oh, AT&T, we're so sorry. Here's all your tickets, right?"
Yeah.
I mean, what I would like to see is federal government pass legislation that basically says that these companies have right of way. Like the cities don't own these utility poles anymore. It all becomes federally owned stuff that can be utilized in a set guideline of ways. And I think that solves the problem. I wasn't too familiar about this case, but again, it doesn't surprise me. It's been a problem throughout most of America. I mean, it's the reason why we have monopolies in so many different places, right? I mean, you're stuck with Cox probably because your local municipality signed some type of franchise agreement for 30 years saying Cox is the only provider. And what do you know? They're the only provider. And I know you said AT&T U-verse is coming in eventually, but I'm sure they had to pay an arm and a leg to do it. So
yeah, and they obviously had to, they had to wait their turn. It's like, Cox took advantage of the situation and banked on these people. I'm just moving into the community within the last couple of years, and I had Cox before, but they were good because where I lived, the infrastructure must have been new, newly upgraded, so they were effective. But here, I mean, it's just absolute trash. And I got to see a side of the company that, I mean, the next time I need to just make my enemy aggravated, I'll just call up customer care at Cox and have them deal with them, Big shout out to Darius.
I got my friend on the line. Here, why don't you talk to them?
Big shout out to Darius. Thanks for the super chat. AT&T is so huge, brings in so much money. I feel they should have fiber everywhere, essentially. Who will be leader of fiber coverage in the future? I think AT&T.
I disagree.
So you think it's going to be someone else?
I think what's going to happen with fiber deployment is we're going to actually see cable operators eventually become fiber providers at some point because that's going to be the end-all be-all future.
Right.
And since they already have the established footprint, I think they're the more likely people to do it. Like I think Spectrum, for example, would be more likely to become the fiber dominator since they offer the most. I think isn't Spectrum the biggest cable provider in the country?
Sounds right. Yeah, I think they're number one still.
Yeah, so I think Spectrum will be the biggest fiber provider because they're the biggest cable provider. I think they'll become the biggest fiber, and then Comcast, and then whoever's next, right? Because I don't see AT&T actually expanding outside their little regional footprint that they're in because the companies play.
But they did say they wanted to grow the fiber footprint. So,
but wasn't it you that told me they sold off didn't they sell off some of their expansions to Frontier? Wasn't that you that told me that?
That was Fios. That was Verizon.
I thought AT&T sold off something too. Maybe it was the CenturyLink. I don't remember.
Maybe it's possible. So it's interesting because it's almost like they kind of pulled the reins back on fiber, but then recently now they're pushing and forging forward with it. And I think it's because the customer is now wants fiber. It's almost become expected. Like we are now hearing our friends and our people saying, "I have fiber." You know how many people 10 years ago would have told me they had fiber? 1 out of 10 had fiber. Today, I'd bet you 7 out of 10 people have fiber.
Whoa, no. I think fiber penetration in the U.S. is only like 30% or something. I'm Google searching that real quick, but I don't think it's
Okay,
that high.
so I'm talking like metropolitan, urban, suburban. Most
Oh.
most people have some form of a fiber option that live in a developed area. When you start going to rural, that number plummets like something fierce. There are people who have fiber in kind of ruralish communities, but it's few and far in between. So AT&T has shown some inclination to want to expand its fiber footprint. I'm not saying that they're definitely going to be number one. I just know that it's on their agenda to expand it. So I give them some hope to offer a better footprint.
Well, they've been leaving. So when it comes to their DSL service, I know it's a little off topic, but they have stopped accepting anybody from getting their DSL service, and they have completely abandoned the limited place that they were at in Pennsylvania entirely. So their market reach has been shrinking. Like if AT&T was focused on the fiber expansion, then what they should have done is the customers that they serve DSL to, they should be replacing that with fiber. But they
And
didn't.
that should have been regulated. That because you literally took internet away from that community. They're still going to leave that DSL operational for the people that have it, but they're not selling it anymore. Right? So you couldn't be a new customer ad.
Oh,
So
you
if
didn't
moved-
see. You didn't see what I'm talking about. No, in Pennsylvania, AT&T was like offered like landline service and stuff like that over DSL for some people. They're straight up done with landline service. No, like it's gone. If you're an existing customer, you had to they sent out flyers. I think it was like April 31st or something. You had to find yourself another landline provider because they were gone. They're done. Like they're out.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So what if there was no other option?
Tough luck, Grandma. Get a cell phone.
Oh man.
That's AT&T's response basically. Like tough luck, get a cell phone. You know. So I don't know. AT&T when they talk about expanding, anytime I see things, they're decreasing their coverage area. Right. If they were serious about expanding, they'd be replacing their current footprint with fiber and then reaching out. Now I know what they're actually doing. I know what they're really doing. They're expanding in the profitable areas, which is what every company does. Like there's a town called Cranberry, okay? It's a very well-off, like booming suburb. They've had a monopoly of like Armstrong Cable. I told you about them. But this place is actually a good place. Armstrong Cable actually started doing fiber to the home there. But you want to know why they started doing fiber to the home there, Sneed?
Yeah, I want to know.
Because Comcast was going to come in. Their franchise agreement ran out, and Comcast was coming in. So they
Competition, no.
so they got Armstrong fiber to the home there. They got Comcast, and then I think Verizon Fios is also available in certain parts of Cranberry. So they got a very healthy competition. And the only reason they got 3 different options though is because I think like the average house out there is worth like $350,000 and up. So it's a very well-off suburb.
So they could sell fiber for $100 a month, and everybody's cool with that, you know.
Yeah. PA Tech just said Armstrong. Oof. I'm guessing you must have been familiar with Armstrong.
Yeah,
Armstrong.
The King's Sniper, the 800,000 small cells is national for all companies. 800,000. That's a ton of small cells. Just to give you guys scale, Verizon by the end of this year will have 35,000 millimeter wave nodes total national. So that 800,000 is a big time number.
That's huge.
Yeah. I wanted to discuss this real quick. Some people might be affected by this. I don't want to leave them out in the dark. Verizon is recalling some hotspot devices. They're being recalled for a fire hazard. If you have one of these 2.5 million devices, you qualify for some kind of a recall, replacement, whatever. It's the battery that's the problem. Lithium-ion batteries are an issue when they get hot, so heat is not their friend. It is the Ellipsis Jetpack Mobile Hotspot. Models range from years 2017 to 2021, made by Franklin Wireless Corporation. Models MHS 900LPP, MHS 900LS, MHS 900L. Estimated 1 million of these units are still active in use. There are 15 reports of overheating, 6 that have caused fire damage or burns, 2 injuries are reported. They have sent out firmware updates that have reduced or eliminated the risk of overheating, and that update actually disables charging while powered on. So, I mean, that kind of sucks, dude, because I like to charge stuff when it's on.
Especially if it's a hotspot, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah. This
like
is
you're
a
gonna
losing proposition right now with this device.
Yeah, I saw that on my Google feed literally today, in between breaks at work. That's a bummer, but Verizon's doing the right thing. I mean, recalling it and swapping them. I just want to ask though. I mean, I know this is going to sound like a dumb question, but is there even a reason for hotspots to exist with your phone being able to be turned into a hotspot and this home internet product existing?
The modem technology is always better, like in terms of signal strength because of antennas. But I mean, these tower grids are getting tight, man. You know, like a cell tower is not too far anymore. So having to get a dedicated hotspot, it's been minimized, right? Like especially if you have like these newer phones, you know, like the iPhones have always had crappy Intel modems and the antennas have been crap. Well, now they're Qualcomm and they're better. So I could see that possibly been the case for someone. Maybe having just a dedicated device that's not your phone because you want to use your phone and not having it overheat, you know, and stuff like that. I don't know.
I think for nomads, people who are traveling, it makes a whole lot of sense to use that. They're going to different locations, so they can't get the fixed wireless solution. They don't want to use their phones because, as Sneed mentioned, the phone would overheat, the battery would drain quickly. Maybe they need to use it for something else as well. So I do think it makes sense. I think the target audience may be getting smaller, but there is definitely still an opportunity there.
You know, you just made me think of something fair when it comes to nomads. I believe with these home internet products, you can't actually move them. They're like tied to like a specific like cell site in like area. I don't think you can bring around the T-Mobile cell site and use it wherever you want. Or excuse me, T-Mobile home internet and use it wherever you want. Snee, have you tested that?
Yeah, you can take it wherever you want, but it has to stay connected to AC power.
Oh, it has to stay connected to AC power? But you
So
can
if you-
take it anywhere?
Yeah. Carlos was driving around Vegas with
But it has to be
connected
plugged on.
It has to be plugged into an
powered
inverter. Yeah.
on,
Yes.
and then you can leave with it.
Yeah.
And then you can leave with it.
Yeah. Even though it has battery, the battery doesn't you don't connect. It won't.
Interesting.
When I tell you that the T-Mobile home internet product is weird, and it's unreal. Like, first of all, it's unstable. I've been having nothing but trouble. They just sent me the new modem. I got to go and connect that after this, so I'll try that. But the modem itself, the firmware, is not the stock firmware. It's T-Mobile firmware for whatever purposes it is, but it actually neuters the modem and the gateway itself.
Yeah, because
So apparently the antennas would be better.
Well, not just that, but on the stock firmware for that Nokia modem, if you look at the top, there's a touchscreen. It actually has like a functionality on the stock firmware that lets you locate a tower. Like it'll show you like here's the tower.
Oh, so then you can enhance your signal.
Yeah, so you can actually know where to position it. T-Mobile, for whatever reason, removed that feature like dummies. I don't know why.
That would
sounds like a
literally
T-Mobile
help.
move.
That would literally help all those hours on customer care where they're going to tell you, put it up in your attic, put it up by a window, find the highest spot in your house.
Yeah, they just show you little bars. No, this actually had like a dot. Like it showed you the dot and it would show you the dot, the tower. And it's like, here you go. And you could just kind of move it around and make sure it was positioned in a nice, friendly way. That way you're getting the best possible signal. And for whatever reason, T-Mobile got rid of that in their custom firmware.
Yeah, it's true, MPT. They do have device limitations. Only X number of phones or devices can connect to your phone.
That's kind of been getting removed a little bit. I think my phone caps out at like 10.
That's pretty good.
But 10
That's
is like let's be real here. If you're using a hotspot, most hotspot plans, I think T-Mobile has a 100 gig hotspot plan max, right? So, but realistically, how many devices are you connecting to your hotspot? Because you're probably using it on the go. It's probably like one laptop, maybe a laptop and your kid's tablet or something in the car, right? You're not doing nothing too crazy. But I don't know. I've been talking a lot. Stetson, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun to get them. I'm kind of curious to grab one. I think it could be fun if you have like a US mobile line, for example, and you have one of their data amount plans. You could throw it in there. Could be good backup, emergency, just to have. But yeah, it's nomads. I mean, I feel like the people from RV Mobile Internet Resource Center would have way more expertise into this, their target audience, their target community, and who it would be for.
I've been using a Netgear Nighthawk.
Yeah, those are great.
And those are tremendous. The antennas are great. I actually took my battery out, So I'm just connecting the power to USB direct. I'm interested to see what the 5G variants are going to be.
Me too. That's what I want.
I mean,
I also want a
they're
5G
pricey.
iPad.
Me too. I want a cellular 5G iPad,
You
and
know-
I want a millimeter wave one too.
Yes.
You know what I want real bad, guys? I want laptops to start having their the modems baked in, so I can connect the 5G on a laptop and actually do real work. No hotspot.
So Lenovo makes one for Verizon.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I've seen a couple of them with like the Snapdragon, Snapdragon's desktop ARM chip, but ARM on Windows doesn't play real nice. What I more so meant is like I want like AMD processor inside, you know, and then like NVIDIA graphics, because NVIDIA graphics cards are, and then I want to see it have like a Qualcomm modem inside for connectivity. So like give me access to 5G, give me access to Wi-Fi 6 and 6E, and that would be like the perfect like on the go laptop for any business person or for any college student. Like, you know how nice it would be? Like, so when I was on Penn State main campus, they had all these beautiful like little places to sit, like specifically the Arboretum. And they had Wi-Fi spread across the Arboretum. And it was pretty legit. But there was little spots where the Wi-Fi didn't reach real well. Do you know how nice it would be to have a nice little picnic under like the little apple tree in the orchard and just be banging out some schoolwork on my little laptop? That'd be so legit. But yeah, I mean, we covered a good amount of topics. Is there anything else you got on the agenda, Sneed, or anything that you want to surprise us with?
Not really, man. Just the Pixel 5a, a little bit of
Ooh.
leakage today.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I missed the leak, so tell me what happened with Pixel 5a.
looks like Stetson's got the modem. Go ahead,
The
man.
leak is that it's happening. That's it. That's we just got confirmation. It's not dead. Google came at us with defibrillators. It ran at us and boom, it zooped us back to life. We're excited to be here. So Pixel 5a was rumored to be canceled. We have the chip shortage affecting the industry. And basically what Google did today is they confirmed Pixel 5a is happening, but it won't be available in like pretty much all markets it usually is. You're just getting it in the United States. And there's a second market. I want to say it's like India, I think.
It's a
Don't
big-time
quote me on
market,
that
though.
one.
That's a big time market.
It's U.S. and Japan.
Japan, thank you, Dennis. So yeah, it's only in 2 markets, but it is coming. This is a lot of people excited because Google's budget phones have been fantastic. You're getting incredible camera, incredible performance, incredible software experience, incredible features at an amazing price point. And yeah, I think a lot of people are just really looking forward to that.
I think it's an interesting choice that they picked the second market to be Japan. I didn't know that Google was actually popular in the Japanese market.
Well, it's a world phone. Google does all phones, world phones, so they do have the band compatibility. But yeah, I'm surprised too. I'm surprised there's a second market. You know, if you're talking about chip shortages, at least there's a second one. You know, I'm obviously not surprised it's not China, but you know, I'm actually not in the market for the 5A. So I have a Pixel 5.
Yeah.
I don't need another mid-ranger. Right? So to me it would be a downgrade to go from a 5 to a 5A. But if I have a 3A, this is up my alley. Right? If I have maybe a 3XL,
Yeah.
you know, like even though it's a flagship, this might be the time to now start looking at possibly replacing it because I think the 3XL might be on its last update. I feel like it's right around that time, about 3 years support. So if that's the case, maybe the battery's starting to degrade. You're not getting much capacity. The 5As have always been great on battery life, or the A series of Pixels.
It's because of
So
those
that might be
mid-range
for them.
chips.
Yeah. So it
They're
might
more
do
power
it.
efficient.
What chipset you guys think they're going to go with?
Probably Snapdragon 765 5G is my guess.
So the
Something
one
like
that was
that.
in their flagship from last year.
Yeah,
Huh.
that'd be my
We'll see.
guess.
We'll see.
Because I don't see them making a non 5G variant of this. So if they're gonna go 5G, that would be the most likely pick, unless they've worked out some kind of deal with Samsung where they're gonna have their own chip in it this year from Samsung.
That could be. I think we're more likely to see that in Pixel 6 though.
Yeah, but they might bring it down to the 5A lineup because it might be cheaper, and they might want that uniformity.
Maybe. I just think development-wise, 5A's probably been in the works, even if it was delayed. I think it's been in the works for long enough that it would have been locked into a Snapdragon or a Qualcomm chip as opposed to going with Google's own chip. That's my guess. It's my
I need a
inclination.
flagship Google phone.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you're gonna
yes.
be in tough. You're gonna be in tough luck, Sneed, for the 6 because Google's trying to experiment a bit. They're rumored. It's called Project White Castle, I believe, was the project name. And basically, they're going to be working with Samsung to make a custom chip. And based off the rumors, this chip's main 2 focuses are going to be to deal with AI processing and photo processing. So the things that you probably care about, which are cell phone antenna performance, computational performance, and graphical performance, are not the key areas of focus with the chipset, or the system on a chip, I should say.
But if they're good enough, I'll take it. Even though
I'm
it's not going to
curious.
be
I'm
the key
excited.
focus. Right.
Yeah.
But I know that the 888 Snapdragon is nothing special. I mean, people are talking about heat problems.
Yeah, it overheats. It's got a heating problem.
Is this the 810? Is this the 808 problems we had from back in like 2013, 14? You remember those?
I
were
do
horrible.
remember it because I had the Nexus 6P.
Yeah, I had that freaking phone, and I would download an app, and the thing would start cooking. I'm like, what the heck? I just downloaded freaking Candy Crush. Like, what just happened?
Yeah, you'd have to restart the phone to get to unthrottle itself. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Snapdragon. I don't think the Snapdragon 888 is definitely not as bad as the Snapdragon 810 was. Okay, but
The 808 was trash too.
No, the 808. I thought the 808 avoided that problem.
Nah, it used to cook too. I had a Moto X Pure Edition. That thing got hot sometimes. Not as bad as the 810. Bro, those were 2 rough years, man. They needed the 820 to get back on track.
I do remember that, and here's a rare chip that you probably don't remember because it was only in the Note 4, I believe. But I had the Snapdragon 805 at one point. It was the last.
I had the 805.
Yeah, it was the last.
I had a
32.
Droid Turbo. Do you remember the Droid Turbo with the ballistic nylon back?
I do.
I did have the 805.
It was the last 32-bit ARM-based processor that Snapdragon made, and I don't know if you ever went back and did like a performance test for from that chiplet versus like the 810 versus like something like the 865 today, but there is a stark difference in performance. Like it's like, wow, how did Facebook even run on this thing? Type of difference, like that kind of difference in performance.
I wonder if the 870 is going to be more the chip of the year. Even though the 888 is the powerhouse, they're saying that the 870 could be the one.
I think we've reached a point though where performance gains aren't going to be coming from computation, like CPU core clocks or anything like that. I think the main performance gains are going to be coming from adding other functionality, like focusing on AI, focusing on specific parts of the SoC that actually handle processing of photography and stuff like that. Like that's going to be where the real gains end up coming from, and battery life improvements. I think those are going to be the notable ones, like power per watt of performance. Like that's a huge area, especially when we're talking mobile handsets. Mm-hmm. But as far as like absolute raw performance is concerned, I kind of think we kind of reached a realistic ceiling. I mean, we're already on. What are we on at this point? 5 nanometer process for chiplets. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's incredibly tiny. There's not too much tinier we can get. And we're already using a very simple, we're using ARM-based executions, which inherently are simple instruction sets. Like they're never going to be able to match the same level of performance as an x86, chipset inside your desktop, right? They can't handle that many complex computational sets. But we can still make room on battery improvement. We could definitely learn how to design our software a little bit better to optimize for these new things that we're adding with the AI segments and the, all that cool stuff, right? Like apps are terribly optimized on Android. Like really Snapchat bad. Is a good example. Snapchat runs like crap on Android versus iPhone.
So Dennis, they're saying that in order to make Android better with apps, you have to abandon Android. They're saying it's like developers literally want a complete overhaul to the Android operating system. So like the whole Fuchsia concept has promise relative to app development that they don't want to develop for Android anymore. It's difficult. It's convoluted. It's multi-layered. Development for iOS is more direct, right? It's more predictable. So a developer goes into an app knowing what they want to accomplish. They can work through some of these smaller issues, but they can optimize things pretty well and may only require an occasional update. Finding bugs and issues and freezes and holdups with frames or whatever. But like Periscope on iOS was really nice. You could literally be watching a live stream, turn off your screen, connect your headphones, completely integrated into iOS. Dude, I used it on my Google Pixel occasionally. The phone was overheating, it was glitching, the video was blurry, I couldn't have headphones on. It was horribly optimized, and I'm begging to find answers, and all I could go back to, all that any developer ever told me, is that it's a nightmare to develop on Android in its current form. And I know it's Linux-based, and that's the kernel and all that, but it's difficult to work with.
iOS is Linux-based, too.
But I don't understand what is going on the Android side that has made things a nightmare for Android developers, that they're like, if it's not Google based, it doesn't work well.
I mean, so there's a couple factors to it. One is that Android is like Windows, okay? You got a bazillion different hardware configurations, and you got a bazillion different kernels, right? Like Samsung goes in and they add Knox and their security to their Samsung phones. LG, when they did their thing, they had their own modifications to it, right? The only one that has vanilla Android is Google, right? So there's no one all size fits all. Everybody has different add-ons and things that are changing up how it's going to perform, right? Another issue is the variance in hardware. I mean, you got phones that are running potatoes, and then you got phones like the S21 Plus that's running a Snapdragon 888, right? It's a freaking horse, a racehorse. But an app developer is going to develop their app for the lowest common denominator to get as much people to use it. And so if you're developing for the lowest common denominator, then that's the performance you're going to get. I mean, there's things you can do to try to scale that for more higher end phones, but you're never going to, like, if you're doing it, and if that's your design concept in mind, you're never going to be able to make full utilization of all the cool features that Samsung might be able to plug in with their hardware. For example, I'll give you a good example. Snapchat, with iPhones, actually uses the iPhone's cameras to capture the image. Snapchat on Android, however, what they do is they basically take a screenshot of what your camera's seeing through the viewfinder, which is why it looks like crap. But that's a very effective solution to make sure that Snapchat works across every single Android phone, right? Because now you don't have to write code for every different type of sensor and image size.
It's a compatibility Band-Aid, but man, that is just a horrible performer.
But it also has to do with how like inherently things are processed. Like even something as simple as like me tapping the screen is handled differently on Android and iOS. And I really don't want to go into code 101 on this because it's going to get really nerdy. But there's pros and cons to each. And most of it comes down to, but the majority of it comes down to just the fact that Android is the wild, wild west, man. You can have your chocolate ice cream, you can have your vanilla ice cream, and Stetson can have his strawberry ice cream. We all get our ice cream flavors.
I want a different ice cream.
Well, boo-hoo. But the point is, by the inherent nature of us all being able to eat our own ice cream, means that we can't have true optimization. Whereas with Apple, it's like, yo, this is your experience. Shut up and like it. If you don't, tough. And when it comes to app development, they're like, yo, you have to use this toolkit to develop our apps. You don't like it, tough. And that's the difference, right? Like Android, anybody can develop on whatever they want. I can develop on my Windows PC. I can develop on my USB bootable drive with Linux if I want to pull up a thing. Like, there's much more Wild West to it, and with Wild West comes problems sometimes. You know, it is what it is.
Let's cap off this live stream, this podcast.
Oh, I had one quick thing. Have you guys seen this? It's a little overexposed. Let me just bring that down a little bit. So this is Samsung's TouchWiz, and you're trying it out on an iPhone.
How'd you get that on there?
So here it is. It looks like it's TouchWiz, and you have your Google thing. You got your icons on the bottom to bring you home, go back. And what Samsung is doing is this is actually a progressive web app that lets you try the Samsung experience before you switch over. Like, you got fake messages pouring in here. You can see, this is so weird. Whatever they queued up, Samsung, what are you doing? Odd and quirky. But yeah, so it's this fake experience on the iPhone, and it's a progressive web app, and so
That's
you can kind
awesome.
of get a flavor of the Samsung experience before you switch out.
Nice.
That's
Thanks,
so
Dennis.
awesome.
Appreciate the super chat, man. I've seen like different apps, web apps that you could do the other way too. So if you have like an Android phone, you can download some
Trick it.
kind of a like an interface sort of looking thing for iOS, and
I mean, that
I don't know.
that's one of the real promises and future of 5G is getting processing off the client device and enabling it to happen in the cloud, because your phone is never going to be as powerful as that Epic server. I also just want to quickly say, since it sounded like you wanted to put a cap on this, I just wanted to thank you, Sneed, for letting us come on the show. It is an absolute pleasure to finally be on here and get to interact with your audience. I want to thank everybody that listened. You guys are awesome. I'm so honored to be part of this community. Honest to God, me doing the podcast with Stetson was probably one of the best things that happened in my life. I got a great friend out of it. And Sneed, I'm honored to call you a friend as well at this point. And yeah, just thank you, everyone. Like, triple thumbs up. I don't have 3 thumbs, but triple thumbs up to everybody. Thank you for coming out.
Thanks, Dennis. I appreciate all those kind words, man. It's an honor and a pleasure to have the both of you on. I was just going to cap off the show by maybe answering a question that people always ask is what is your daily driver phones? Like, what are you guys using? And if it's multiple phones, let us know about it.
Sure. So for me, my daily driver is the S20 Plus. This is definitely the one I use like 24/7 on me. And then my secondary phone, which has my AT&T SIM card in it, as well as my eSIM T-Mobile line, because I have multiple lines now with T-Mobile, is an iPhone.
How many free
12.
lines you got? How many free lines you got in your account?
I only got 1 free line, but I just started on the party, and I'm sure you heard my rant and my experience with that. But anyway, yeah, iPhone 12 Pro Max is my secondary phone, which has the AT&T, but primarily this S20 Plus is what I use for everything, including work and stuff.
Nice.
I'm rocking the iPhone 12 Pro as my primary, and it's in dual SIM mode we got Mint Mobile and US Mobile on there right now. Testing out. Mint Mobile's on eSIM, US Mobile is on their unlimited plan, just testing those out. And then I've got like a family of phones that I use for testing, mostly simultaneously, and I'm really hoping to do a side-by-side network test of AT&T soon, test out prepaid versus postpaid and those different plans.
How about getting you on Los Mobile?
Dude, I have a line of Los Mobile.
Oh,
I didn't even realize it.
How was
Wait,
it,
you
Stetson?
got one?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's AT&T, and it's just great. Like, I don't know. It's the best AT&T has to offer. So, if if people are able to get it and it helps them, I think it's a really great option.
So, Dennis, I think I can pull some strings. I could use my juice, and I think I can get you a Los Mobile line of access so you could try it out.
I want
All
to
right.
try it out because I'd be really curious to know how the Priority versus my Elite plan versus Los Mobile compares, because you already saw AT&T was crushing it.
Yeah.
And the main thing I want to try out is I'm going to go to my parents' house with like the phone that I put it on. I'm going to rock a hotspot, and I'm going to compare it to the Armstrong internet that they have stuck with.
Wow.
That they're-
Okay, so here's what I could tell you about Los Mobile. It is, you have Consumer Elite, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is Business Elite. So it's not QCI 7, it's QCI 6. And the hotspot data has QCI 6. So it's the on-device or the hotspot's the same. The moment I tried it, I turned on the hotspot, and then I ran a speed test, and then I turned it off and ran a speed test on device. It was the same. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is incredible, because that's a game changer, because your hotspot typically it'll downgrade to about QCI 9. You're basically on prepaid level, right? So real deal, dude.
What device are you using? An Android phone with it, or are you using your iPhone? What are you using?
I
with
have
it?
I have two. Well, so I have a FirstNet line on my iPhone 12 Pro, and then I have Los Mobile on a Nighthawk, powering home internet, and then I have another Los Mobile line on my Google Pixel 5, and everything is flawless. Everything is fantastic. The Los Mobile that I have on my on-device, on my Pixel 5, I don't know, just kind of depends. Sometimes the 5G is the same as the LTE. Sometimes the LTE is better. That's an AT&T thing, right? It's not like a Los Mobile thing. But man, the hotspot, like the internet went down in the school, and I turned on 20 Chromebooks. Literally, like I turned on the iPhone hotspot, I turned on my Pixel hotspot, and I powered 20 Chromebooks for like 30 minutes, and my students hated me for it. Because they're like,
we should be able to do work.
They're like, literally, like the whole school is down with internet, and you're gonna turn on your hotspots. We hate you.
Dude,
Don't you have some sort of limit on that? What are you doing?
I told you, you're the superhero of your school, man. I'm just waiting for the day when you just whip out like 5 of your phones, and you're like, okay, kids. Today
I swear, Dennis, I swear to you, the situation happened. My co-teacher, who teaches one of my classes with me, she's like, internet's down. All these kids are in the middle of their quiz. It was a Google Form quiz. I set one of my phones down to a room with a student, and I said, just put this in the middle of the room. And boom, they finished their quizzes, dude.
Well, I was picturing more. I don't know what subject you teach, but I was picturing you more teaching like some like physics class for science. And I was just like, you whip out your 5 phones for like a fun test. I was like, today, kids, we're gonna talk about physics and how spectrum works and that stuff. Because like when I was in college, we had a really awesome science professor, and like this would not happen in high school, but like Penn State Beaver, we took this giant mirror. We were learning about like refraction and reflection. We were lighting stuff on fire out in the parking lot of Penn State Beaver. It was great.
Yeah, I teach environmental science and life sciences. So yeah, you had me on the sciences part, man.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I got the 12 Pro with my. Well, actually, my 12 Pro has 2 lines in it. It's got a T-Mobile One plan on it, an old T-Mobile One plan, but it's horrible. It's the same as Magenta. I get throttled for video. I get like 1.9 megabits on video. It throttles 720p, or it buffers at 720p. Yeah, it does 480p exactly.
Yeah.
It's. I don't even use it. I don't even turn it on.
Why don't you ditch it?
I don't know. Maybe it's a free one. Maybe that's why the the account holders like, who cares? But I don't use it. It's literally, it's on sometimes. I test it. It's meaningless to me. That's why, like, when people are all amped up about T-Mobile, like, if you don't have a Magenta Max plan, you're not really getting the benefit of the N41 upgrade.
Yeah,
it's just not there.
I have a Magenta Max plan, and I came from the One Plus plan because of that debacle. I will just say, Sneed, on a side note, I actually think the Magenta Max plan is better than the old One Plus plan.
Sure. I could see that because
coming around to it.
Yeah, they're giving you top tier access on a newly upgraded network. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I mean the unlimited priority data is where it gets you in the extra hotspot. Because I was thinking about it, Stetson. Like all the functionalities there, and the One Plus plan isn't what it used to be. Because I actually I looked through the changes. Like when One Plus plan first came out, hotspot in Canada and Mexico used to be unlimited, like unlimited full LTE. That used to be the thing. But then people abused it, and they introduced that 5 gigabit limit for all the people on the old One Plus plans. So that's the same limit that's on the Max plan. And then my One Plus plan only had roaming support, I think, in 140 countries. Magenta Max has 210. So it's also more expensive, but it is better.
You get what you pay for.
It is better.
Yep. Yeah, so I got the 12 Pro with those 2 SIMs. Got the Google Pixel 5. That's got a Los Mobile line in it. And then,
Also,
my
Dennis,
main
you
driver
grab
is
one?
the 12.
I bought one of these off Amazon just recently. I got just like Stetson here. I got 2 T-Mobile SIMs in there because they're the 2 extra lines that I have that aren't in any phones right now.
Wait, are they Magenta Max?
Yeah, they're Magenta Max.
Huh. Are you willing to lease one?
To you? Sure.
For testing?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. All right. We'll do that. We'll be in discussions, Dennis.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. And we're going to go ahead and highlight the last message of the podcast. 5G from Verizon suck. We're going to go ahead and do that.
Where's David? He was trying to get me to laugh all stream.
I know.
That got me.
Can we really sign up for Los Mobile? Yeah. Yes, you can. The Discord link provided by Stetson. A few comments up. Check it out. Also on Twitter, you can just search Los Mobile, and he's on there. He actually follows me on, so I followed him back. So I'll be doing some. I don't know if it's is it free promotional work? I don't know. I just like share speed tests of me using it as a home internet solution. So
It's like, guys, it's fast.
yeah,
We
it
have
is.
confirmation.
It's really nice. It's been awesome. And actually, I had similar access before, but that QCI 6 on hotspot, unlimited, is incredible. I've never, I just didn't think there was going to come a day where that was going to happen. But I guess with capacity, it opens up the doorway to opportunities like that. So, excited. Two Phone General says, I got a Los Mobile line. Hey, this is not the Loch Ness Monster. People have it. All right, it's a real thing. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap up the show. Stetson, thank you for coming on, sir. Thanks for setting aside that time and making yourself available and hanging out with us. Go ahead and let people know what you're up to, what you got going on for projects and what you do on your channel.
Yeah, I review cell phone plans on my channel, trying to find the best and cheapest prepaid plans so you can actually save money on your cell phone service. I'm working on best unlimited T-Mobile plans right now, so consider staying tuned for that.
Nice. And Dennis, thank you for being here, buddy. Tell us about what you got going on and what you've been up to.
So I've just been working on the podcast with Stetson. I don't have my own channel, but I have been making some extra content for the Patreon supporters. Been working on some stuff in the background with that. Overall, I'm really excited for next week. Can we share what guests we have on, Stetson?
Yeah, we have confirmation on that. We're getting Aaron North from Mint Mobile, SVP of Marketing. So it should be a fun discussion.
All right, nice, dude.
Yeah,
so that's Deadpool Mobile, right?
Yeah.
That is Deadpool Mobile.
Yeah, and then there's someone else that we've been reaching out to that I think's also confirmed Lon, right? Lon TV, we've confirmed him, right?
Haven't gotten a date yet, but he said he's down. So
he's down.
Yeah, it's a fun podcast. We chat with some really cool people. And so we do it Thursday evenings, typically around 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. Eastern. If you have time to want to swing by, that'd be great.
Yeah, and Sneed, basically the reason why I'm excited for Lon is because he's got Gigabit Pro from Comcast, which is 2 gigs symmetrical, and it's a Metro E-level fiber connection.
Because of business, it's business grade?
It's actually a residential tier that's offered. You have to be within 1,000 feet of a fiber tap to get it.
Gotcha. Okay.
And there's a $1,000 installation charge for it. But you get 2 gigs symmetrical for your primary feed, and they give you a 1 gigabit symmetrical link as a backup as well.
Wow.
It's like a Metro E-level fiber grade connection. This is your own bandwidth. It connects directly back to the to the head end. So I'm excited to talk to him because it's the creme de la creme, and he's done testing on other products too, like Starlink. So I want to talk to him about that. That's going to be more up my nerdy alley. That's the guest I'm excited for.
I will be tuned in. I will be present in the live chat, most definitely. All right, we're excited about that. Everybody make sure you check out the links down in the description box. All things Stetson, all things Dennis, their social media, their websites, as well as their channel and their podcast is linked. So check them out. Subscribe. I'm there in the live chat of all of their podcasts. So if you want to hang out with me and act a fool at the podcast live, join me there. It's going to be bananas, So looking forward to it, Stetson. Thanks for coming on, Dennis. Thank you as well.
Thank you so much.
Let's go ahead and wrap up the show. Guys, take it easy. Peace.